Welcome to the Angular Plus Show, where app developers of all kinds share their insights and experiences. Let's get started.
Welcome everybody to another episode of This is the Angular Plus Show. The Angular Plus Show. Super excited for this episode. I'm, as always, peak prepared. So this is going to be a fun one. From the laugh, you can already probably guess who one of my co-hosts is today. Lara, how's everything going?
It's good. I'm laughing
That
because
is good. I'm a little jealous.
because I know the conversation we just had.
You always need to look at it on a positive side. It can always be worse.
It could.
This year has been very, very sophisticated in that regards.
Yes.
Particularly on this side of the whatever.
I say things like, "I sure do love my cat." And isn't this plant pretty? So you find the positive things and you just really cling to those for dear life.
There's like a sad note in that, but I just say I love this and let's keep going.
I love the podcast and I'm really glad to be here today.
Right. So. Positive vibes.
Yes.
Brooke, how are things going?
Things are going.
Things are going. Yeah, I agree.
There's like a lot wrapped up in that question, so I'll just say things are going.
Nice.
It's such a loaded question, but like when you come here in like the US and be like in a restaurant and everyone is like, "How are you doing?" And you're like, "I don't
Do you want the real answer? Yeah, and like, are you ready to sit down for a little while, or should I just say fine?"
And particularly
so we'll go with fine.
Yeah.
Particularly me being in the Midwest, I'm just in the worst place I could be.
Yeah.
Because everyone's so polite and they won't stop talking to you.
It's the worst. The worst.
Like you can't go to the grocery store and just be incognito because somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, how are you?"
It's true. All right, enough chit chat. We are professionals here. We're professionals,
and we're all excited to be here.
We are
super excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have a very important topic for today with one of my favorite guests from my home country, Martina. Before we talk about your topic, just to like build up a little bit of suspense, right? I didn't mention it. Let's
I don't think
build up a
so.
little suspense.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
Martina.
It's one of the most important topic ever that was on this podcast. So it definitely.
No doubt.
Yeah, I think so.
It's really up there. Yeah.
But maybe consider renaming the podcast.
But I'm incredibly excited to be here, actually. Luckily to finally be able to hold this podcast. And I'm really looking forward to talk to you. Our home country, Germany, it's really sunny right now.
Yeah, good for you.
On our end, actually. But I'm doing really great. I love the sun. It's finally getting a little bit warmer. But I guess when I see the news, there's always really snowing on your end at least.
Oh yeah, we experienced first fake spring, and now we were back in like prolonged winter part 1, and then we will go into probably at least another fake spring followed by another prolonged winter, and then it'll be like, boiling lava hot and humid.
See, now we skipped winter altogether this year. Utah has had nothing. Like literally, it's like 60 something degrees outside right now, and we've had maybe an inch of snow. So it's
weird.
Such a weird winter.
Just to translate for people with proper units, 60 is like 15 degrees Celsius and an inch is like 2.5 centimeters.
I just went for hot. Like I was like, it's hot. It gets to hot.
Yeah.
Unusually warm for winter.
Yeah.
We had 20 degrees here.
Okay. Something.
Like really already really sunny. Luckily we don't have, so in Germany we don't have the issue to be too less incognito when you go to a grocery store. You just have to look grumpy and no one will dare talking to you. It's really
like what
good.
gives me like this homey feeling,
Everyone's ignoring me. They look a little mad.
No, it's really.
That's
you
when
can
you
just
know
go
you're
to
home.
the grocery store and just have your earplugs in, listening to music, and no one will talk to you, and it's really great. That's something I love about Germany.
My daughter is an extreme introvert, and she's like, I really think I was born on the wrong continent. I think I belong in Europe.
We actually just to finish that up, we actually lately looked at how how living would be in Finland, for instance, and we watched a video, and then there it's even more greater, because if you dare to try to talk to someone in a train or whatnot, they're looking at you like crazy. They're like, what are you doing?
Like, get this person back to the hospital.
They don't talk to each other at all. And even asking for help is like not really considered as something usual there. So you just go your way, you just follow along your daily business, and you're not doing small talk, chit chat, thingy thing. We almost thought, this might be a good country to live with. But yeah.
Sounds magical.
Now,
All
Martina,
right.
last time we spoke, you had been kind of getting into marathons. So are you still doing that?
Oh yeah, actually I run 4 this year.
Nice.
And I even come to the US. I will run the New York one.
Nice.
In
Very
November.
cool.
Yes, I want to run that, but first in Vienna, here in Austria, New York, and then Valencia and Berlin, another.
I was gonna ask about Berlin. I know that the Berlin Marathon course is the flattest. And
Yes.
so that is where you get these elite runners that come in, and that's where they're most likely to break records, which, I mean, like, that makes me I nerd out about that because I like to imagine how fast somebody is running compared to how slow I am running when they're running at a world record marathon pace. And
it's insane. But like what my fast pace is for the elite runners, like a really slow, relaxing pace.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm not fast.
Run like that for 50 kilometers, and I'm like, I'm at my limit here.
Yeah, we have a marathon in town where the half marathon course meets up with the full marathon course at a certain point. And so at my pace, I hit where the two races merge right as the elite runners come through. And it is like for just a few seconds, because they go faster than me, I get to know what it feels like to race them. And it's like you get like a breeze coming off of
Yeah, and they are gone. Like
They're like, bye guys. Tell them I'm coming. I'll be there in an hour.
Give me 2 hours and I'm back there. It's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the dream for every marathon runner is to run once in Boston, the Boston Marathon. But you have to qualify for that, and this is really tough.
Yeah, I think you have to qualify, or you have to have enough sponsor money.
Yeah, charity, like running for charity.
Two things that are difficult for me.
Or you are an incredible Instagram influencer and have enough follower that you get this kind of influencer place.
Right.
Yes. But I try to achieve the qualifying place. So let's see how it's going.
Well, we'll wish you luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. So we said that there's a very important topic we should talk about, and the listeners will be surprised to know it's not the weather or marathons.
What? Now I'm not prepared anymore. Great. Thank you.
That is the most important thing, though. Come on now.
All right. So in relation to web applications, what, in your opinion, Martina, is one of the most important parts of the development process?
Of course, you mean besides having finally signal forms. Definitely. No, of course it is like one of for most of the people, the most complicated topics and the less taken care of topics. It's security.
Yes.
And security is something that I really felt my whole heart for. So less people are taking care of what could go wrong. They're developing in Angular, and the good thing is Angular especially is the best front-end framework when it comes to built-in protection about security against some security risks. People just also don't know about those. And sometimes it's just about adding some middleware or adding an interceptor or adding some special configuration to the HTTP client, to the provider of the HTTP client, and that's it. And then their Angular application is already more secure but they don't know those features. And this is why I'm starting to going to those developers, especially Angular developers, and telling them, hey, do you know there's this? Yes, I know we got signal forms, we got all standalone components way before, so many great things, but do you actually also know that Angular provides these kind of security mitigations for free built in? And
I feel like for a lot of so speaking about like larger development teams, I feel like for the everyday just hands on keyboards developers, the security aspects of the websites get abstracted away. Like maybe you have a team that deals with authentication completely. Maybe you have a team that deals with, the API gateways and all that stuff. And so there's, like I think it's very easy for the average developer to sort of forget that it's important.
I remember once that I was at a conference and I talked about authentication authorization in an Angular app. And I completely showed like a couple of attacks on the Angular app. And I remember when I sat down listening to the second talk after mine, the person besides me told me, this was really interesting. But yeah, my colleague just bought a book, How to Deploy Things Quickly Without Considering Security.
Oh gosh.
So he did. I was like, what? What are you talking to me right now? What are you telling me? Like, I mean, I know that we have to consider so many things. Performance, we got hydration. We want to deliver our applications fast. Then they have to be maybe also running on mobile and whatnot. And now, of course, we love that finally we are zoneless. This is incredible. But then there's so many complexity, of course, micro frontends, having signal store and whatnot, state management. But now on top, it's also security. We need to consider so many things. I just want to develop some little web application, but so many things can be.
I was at a meetup and I was talking to a friend of mine who's a senior developer, and he had his product person came and said, can you develop this feature? And he was like, no, we won't make it for this quarter. This product person sent him an AI-generated implementation plan that absolutely just completely ignored authentication at all. And the whole reason that he couldn't release the feature was because he wasn't going to be able to get it through, like get the authentication and authorization implemented and get it through like a security check.
Yes.
So I think we get a lot of pressure from AI too, because it's very easy for an agent to say, well, just do you can implement it. I'm like, dude, we can implement anything. It's just, is it going to protect are we going to leak data? Are we going to cause a big, is this going to
don't even get me started about the code, the secureness of code that AI agents are producing. It's also incredible. I mean, we're doing a great work of writing all these markdown references file in what the agent should take care of. But we're completely leaving security there also out, and it's really interesting.
So, okay, question for you, because you mentioned Angular does handle, like it's kind of baked in with some security measures, but why then, if the framework is handling so much for us, why is XSS still a top threat? Like here we are 2026, like what is it that's still a threat to us?
It's such a great question, and there's actually a lot to it. So let's just maybe start from the beginning in the sense of, yes, Angular has a built-in sanitizer. So what does the sanitizer do? Basically, when the user writes something and we bind it to some dangerous attribute like inner HTML or whatnot, Angular says, I don't trust this value at all. I sanitize this for you. So Angular has this zero trust implementation. Whatever the user types and gets maybe binded to the template, Angular sanitizes. This is so great. No other really framework is actually doing this. But of course, there's a but. We can always disable the sanitizer. So you can also tell from your experience, but from time to time, I see it really often that the sanitizer is disabled on a specific kind of string. I once had it for instance, that we had translations And inside those translations needed to be some HTML markup as well, because it was different, like different bullet points. In the one language we had 5 bullet points, and the other one just 3. So the HTML structure needed to be baked in those translation strings. So yes, now you want to translate your string and you want to bind it to the template. You need to do it with inner HTML because there needs to be HTML rendered, and you need to disable, of course, the sanitizer for it. Otherwise, Angular would sanitize this and maybe would not let you actually rendering this kind of HTML in the string. This is just one example. And then, of course, if someone is able to inject something badly inside this translation string, then you're doomed. Then bam, and you have already a cross-site scripting attack, basically. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm really curious right now. Did you also occur to you that the sanitizer is disabled? Do you have another example, maybe?
So I worked for a company at one point where a lot of the out of their content management system, they would provide HTML markup. And so we would make a request and have to render what came back to us. And it always just makes you feel like early in my career, my boss would send me to conferences and he said, take all the code smells talks and all the security talks. And I'm like, should we really be disabling this? Like, should we really just be trusting that this HTML, because that's a lot of trust to say, like, I'm going to take what you give me and I'm just going to put it in my app. And I'm just going to hope that nobody got in between us and changed that content to be malicious.
Plus, the second part is to that, no one actually hinders us from writing something like document get element by ID dot inner HTML inside our Angular component. And this, whenever I tell the story, it's like everyone is completely like getting goosebumps and really scared, because there were a famous German consultant who was on German conferences and back then said, yes, Angular change detection is really hard with the Zone.js. The detection cycles could screw up in a sense that the sync of the model and the view takes so long. It was a known problem that Angular wasn't that reactive like in the past. It's way better right now, definitely. So what this consultant, for instance, proposed is, if the sync is too slow, just do it on your own. Just write document get element by ID and assign your own HTML to it. And then you'll find that the sync is, you could call the native DOM API, and then the sync is, of course, non-existing because it immediately will get reflected. I mean, I think we all agree that first, it isn't definitely not faster. It destroys everything Angular is for. Basically, it completely destroys the whole change detection mechanism Angular had back then. And secondly, of course, it's definitely less secure. It rises up a huge security gap. So of course, when you outpass the Angular API and not using the Angular API, there is no Angular sanitizer. And to that, even if we are following, like we as application developers following everything, making sure that the Angular API is used and whatnot, bam, there is an npm package with got injected some JavaScript code, and you actually install it. Have you actually heard, this is one of my favorite attacks, have you ever heard of typo squatting, this kind of attack?
Tell me, I don't know if I have. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's actually, there are so many npm packages that are misspelling Angular or material in a specific way.
Okay.
Like they have a lot of typos inside it. So when you type really fast, npm install any material, you could make a typo. And usually you get an error. I don't find this package on this registry.
Right, okay.
But not if this package actually exists on the npm registry. So like when we install Angular material, and it doesn't throw an error, I also have to admit, it's not like that I'm looking completely did I actually type it correctly? And then
Right.
I do not immediately open the package JSON and take a look. Is the correct package installed? Like, this is because we are already so used to it. And if it doesn't throw an error, of course, we assume everything is correct and whatnot. And then you get Angular material for sure, but you get something sugar on top. Let's call
Right.
it like this. You get something on top of it as well.
It weirdly just leaks stuff.
Yeah, so a little bit maybe, yes. So this is one of many reasons why Java we can't kill cross-site scripting in the browser, and that's why we're actually trying to follow more the approach in hiding everything from JavaScript access. Like anything in the web browser that can be achieved with JavaScript should just be not sensitive information. Just as an example, the access token. We are storing the access token in the local storage, and we love to do that. But as you can imagine, as soon as there's a cross-site scripting vulnerability, the access token is literally just gone. It can get stolen so easily and just sent to some server, and then your access token has a lifetime for 1 hour, and then you're screwed. And this is, I mean, like when I heard this sentence for the first time, I was really scared, and I was like, "Oh, holy! We should do something." But it appears like that a couple of persons don't care about this, since they are asking exact same question, like, "But I'm using Angular, I'm using an SPA framework. Cross-site scripting doesn't exist anymore, so it's fine." Which is always really, really dangerous, actually. So yeah, Angular has built-in sanitizer. No other frameworks have that. But one thing about those sanitization mechanism, either in Angular or there's actually a German company. It's called Cure53. They are have written a sanitizer, like just as an open source library. And actually, it's really a fun fact. This sanitizer, this DOM purifier, it's called, is actually used by the W3C to now implementing and built-in sanitizer in the browser. So this is like really the sanitizer actually from this company, and the whole people in this company who wrote this DOM purifier, they all did their PhD in XSS. So their research on is they're promoted on this, and wrote a whole PhD thesis just around cross-site scripting.
Yeah,
insane, actually.
Yeah. I know. I remember when I was writing like .NET code, the template binding and that did DOM sanitization. And so I think I just always took it for granted in Angular because I'm like, oh yeah, of course it does. But so yeah, like people that maybe are coming from those sorts of backgrounds, there are frameworks that do, like .NET handles it, but not JavaScript frameworks. And I think one problem I think too though is it can make you kind of lazy since it sort of does it for you. Not realizing that maybe you're doing something risky. Jan, do you have something
I
you
have
need
a
to
funny
say?
story. I know this is a rare coincidence, but at the very beginning of my career, I kind of fell into this JavaScript whole thing with Angular.js back in the day. And we were originally like more of a Ruby shop, but one team was doing Java web servlet something, and they were like, we should serve your JavaScript through our Java servlet so that it's more secure. And I was like, is it though? Is it though?
Yeah.
Looking back at it, it doesn't make any difference. So don't listen to backend engineers that do stuff.
Yes, absolutely. So the thing is also, as is mentioned, like NPM brought up an incredible interesting stat that like more than 90% of our application code is from NPM packages. So we are just writing so less JavaScript or so less code actually compared to all those NPM packages we are loading inside our app. And there were some incredible huge attacks last September and October on NPM packages. I'm pretty sure at least somehow it created so much noise. I think you remember that, like, there were so many like compromised NPM packages out there, and everyone was like, what, how can this happen, and why, and oh no, everything is compromised. And like, I was like, yes, because it makes sense. I mean, NPM doesn't have any kind of, this whole ecosystem doesn't provide something like checking for a signature for the NPM packages, the integrity for the NPM packages.
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I work together with Java developers, they have Maven, and Maven has this kind of signature checking. I mean, you need to enable that, all good, but it can check for the signature of the Maven packages. But for NPM, I do believe that NPM provides something like this, but we are not using it because no one cares. Actually, it's just the front end. So why should I really dig into those things?
I'd say one of the benefits of using Angular is that we still need to use external libraries, but because Angular is opinionated and includes a lot of what we use, you sort of inherit the security checking that Google is doing. I mean, I don't think you should be lazy, but I know with like a React app, I just remember we had so many packages we had to pull in. And for every single package, we'd have to see like, okay, is this secure? What's like, how can we trust this package? And at least with Angular, like there's plenty of libraries that get pulled into an Angular application, but you don't have to pull it in for like literally everything, which is nice. And if you're doing like a security audit, you can inherit the security of, like, say, Angular, because Google also has to vet the packages that they include in Angular. You can inherit that security. You don't have to do the same audit yourself. So
this is true to a specific point.
Yeah.
But even like, I remember when Angular Universal got baked into Angular, and Angular Universal had an XSS vulnerability.
Yep.
I mean, yes, to be really fair speaking, of course, this was immediately taken care of. Soon it wasn't really published, and there was already a fixed version onto that.
Yeah.
In December last year, the Angular compiler had a stored XSS vulnerability.
There was just another CVE that came out. I can't remember. I wasn't able to look into it, but it happens.
Which of course, we're here in the Angular podcast, so we can tell that there were a lot of CVEs in the React server components. So they really had a lot of security issues, actually. But of course, we in Angular, we just need to install less packages, but unfortunately also these packages can make mistakes. And this brings me actually to one incredible great security defense against cross-site scripting, which Angular brings built in as well. It's called trusted types. It's kind of it's not really new, but there are so less people actually know this kind of browser feature. Because when I'm saying yes, and then there's an NPM package, and we are using the Angular API, so the sanitization mechanism is working, and maybe there's an NPM package basically which is not using the Angular API, and there could be some malicious JavaScript code injected in this one. And basically what trusted types are doing is finding the root cause of cross-site scripting. So the root cause is that inside our web browsers, there are native APIs, which those APIs you can render HTML to the DOM. Like, for instance, what pops into your mind? What could be one such DOM API? Have you
hold on.
Like there's inner HTML.
Yeah.
Inner HTML, document.write.line. I mean, this kind of really native DOM APIs. And of course, in the end, even Angular also needs to use this kind of APIs, like in the end. or Angular using the more safer versions like create element node, create text node, set HTML attribute and whatnot. But of course, there are also APIs which are so-called dangerous APIs or dangerous things. I don't know why it's called sync because it has this form of a sync, basically. So these are the reasons why we have cross-site scripting. Because in these kind of dangerous sync, I can immediately just put an HTML snippet into and it gets rendered. So what trusted types are doing is when I enforce them in the web browser through a security header, an HTTP header is a response header, the browser says, okay, it must, everything that is assigned to this kind of dangerous API must have this type. It has to be a trusted type, which is then in the most cases a trusted HTML.
Is that the same as the content security policy?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's like, so yes, so this is content security policy is great, and we can also talk about that in a bit, basically. But yeah, so the content you enable trusted types with the content security policy. It is exactly that security header I mentioned.
Yeah, that was what I was like, I think that's what that is, but
exactly. That is content security policy. And with content security policy response header, you can just enable those trusted types. And immediately the browser would not allow any kind of assignment anymore to this kind of dangerous API, which sounds great in the first place, but on the second glance, you think like, what? I need to convert everything now to a trusted type. This sounds like hell. But the cool thing is, when you are using Angular, Angular provides you already, let's say, a built-in transformation to trusted type. So you can enable trusted type. You just tell in Angular, okay, please use this trusted type transformation. You need to do this. It's actually like it's called just an Angular keyword. You need to use them also in the content security policy. You just enable this transformation inside the content security policy as well. And then everything what goes through the sanitizer will be automatically returned as a trusted type. So as long as you're using the Angular API, you are fine. When something malicious got injected into NPM packages, it will be rejected. The browser will block it because this for sure will not be a trusted type.
And yeah, I was gonna say, like we use those every now and then. They'll be like, okay, why isn't this working? Oh, okay, we need to update the content security policy. Like,
yes,
it can kind of get in your way a little, but I feel like the value add is worth it. Especially if you have to get content from like a CMS that you have to render it in inner HTML or anything like that. So
yes, absolutely. And the trusted types are just putting like another layer onto it, on this whole CSP thing, basically. So yeah, there's one issue on CSPs that actually trusted types are solving. We can maybe start with what a CSP maybe is, because I worked together with a team about the web almanac. There's like a yearly stats about different kind of chapters like cookies, security, PWA, and also apparently right now how the AI involvement is in the AI sector. So there was that just 25% of all web pages are actually using content security policy. So I'm really happy to shortly maybe elaborate what the content security policy is. So how have you been using it so far? Like, or do you want to tell what you understand from the content security policy?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's just saying, I can give you a very dumb version because I used to be able to tell you exactly, but that brain cell got overwritten by like some more passwords or whatever. But basically, like you're saying, you provide is it I can't remember if it's a hash or like there's some way that you can check that what you're expecting is indeed what you're getting from the URL. And so like if you're loading something, it's yeah, that's a terrible description. So go ahead and give us the
Solid,
real one.
rock solid. I like it.
I just got an A+, so
Yeah, totally.
Okay. I mean, you're just basically talking about CSP hashes.
Mhm.
So in general, what content security policy does is that it provides the browser a policy which content to execute and which to block. It's not only restricted to JavaScript though. You can tell you are just allowed to load images when the image is loaded from this resource, from the CDN or through HTTPS. It has to be HTTPS, so no image allowed throughout HTTP. You can tell exactly which kind of fonts are allowed to be loaded, stylings. But of course, when it comes to cross-site scripting, you nail it down to what kind of JavaScript is allowed to be executed. And of course, you can, for instance, say, yes, I just allow JavaScript to be executed that is coming from our own origin. Like when the HTML is delivered out on kittycat.org, then JavaScript is just allowed to be executed. That's also coming from the server kittycat.org. No inline JavaScript is allowed at all. And so any JavaScript injection attack somehow that is trying to inline JavaScript in your application then will be blocked by the web browser. This is so great. This is so amazing. And what you mentioned with the hash is basically a way, like if you have the necessity for still being able to execute inline JavaScript. So sometimes even Angular has that in the beginning, like a little inline JavaScript that needs to be executed in order to load the whole config and whatnot. So if we just say only JavaScript file is coming from our own server, it will block this inline JavaScript. So what we're providing with the CSP hash is basically we are hashing this inline JavaScript, putting the hash to the CSP, and the browser does also the same hash algorithm through all inline JavaScript it finds, and only the one that matches the one you provided inside the CSP, if it's exactly the same, it's like a checksum. This one is the browser allowed to be executed.
Yeah.
This is basically what you explained. I mean, it wasn't wrong what you explained. Actually, it was.
It was just like a little vague.
That's called CSP hashes. It's totally fine. The only drawback on this is just imagine you have 15 inline JavaScripts, then you need to generate 15 hashes, and this could grow up a little bit too much or escalate too quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I know, like in the years ago, back in the olden days when content security policy was just sort of coming out, it did not have good browser support, if I remember right. But I just Googled that, and it looks like the only thing, maybe Internet Explorer only uses like the old X content security policy header or something. Like if you're supporting Internet Explorer,
yes, which I really hope no one
just don't
has to deal with this any longer. Oh yes,
we all know there are people.
There's always that one company is like, yeah, but or like our big client refuses to use anything else. I'm like, why?
Exactly.
I had clients that paid a shit ton of money to Microsoft to be like, no, please, one more year. We can't.
Yeah. I worked for I had a contract at one point. I want to say that they needed a specific version of Internet Explorer because it was the only thing that allowed them to do this like very unsafe operation where the browser could get into your file system and do work.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's not do that.
Yeah. That's so horrible and so horrible thing. So yes, like actually the Internet Explorer implements the so-called first level of content security policy. I don't know why in security we call it level and not version. So if you are standard level 2, you are better protected, or you have better protection and prevention mechanism if you're just level 1. this is how it makes sense and somehow to call it
If you
like
think
this.
about like a video game and you're like,
Yeah,
you've got your armor and like
exactly.
level 1 armor is not as good as level 2 armor.
Exactly. So it's like that actually. So content security policy level 1 is like a rookie. It's like you're noob,
Yeah.
you're still a noob, but yeah.
Exactly.
So you need to do a little bit more to reach level 2. So all the other browsers reached already level 2.
Right.
So Internet Explorer is still a noob.
Yep.
And should we leave finally the game? Game over, please just go.
No more lives. Lives are over.
Yes, absolutely.
I've been like really loving everything. I haven't wanted to step in because you guys are just having such a good discussion. But I am curious because I've heard about this double submit cookie and it, like the pattern that Angular's HTTP client uses. So I'm wondering, why does it require specific support from the backend to work?
Mm-hmm. So to explain this, we would need to take a look into another attack. It's called cross-site request forgery. Does it make sense to shortly finish up about cross-site scripting and the CSP and then jump over to this attack to explain the double submit cookie? Does it make sense?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's wrap up
shortly talk about.
We're going to solve cross-site scripting.
Just
Go.
one thing I want to mention more regarding XSS, and then we can go to this other attack, which the double submit cookie pattern solves. I think just from a point, maybe a little bit makes sense because they haven't made the bridge to trusted types yet still. Why trusted types is needed if we have already CSP and what is there, the difference. So as mentioned, the content security policy is great. And content security policy tells, yes, of course, these JavaScript static files our Angular is actually building are allowed to be executed in a browser. But what is included in those JavaScript bundles? Our NPM packages. So content security policy on this state can protect us from malicious JavaScript that get injected into NPM packages. Because we're telling the browser, of course, you're allowed to execute this because it's coming from, or maybe from a CDN or whatnot, but of course we need to allow this. So, and that's why, and this is really funny, it's like a patching and a patch and another patch. So yes, we had finally content security policy, which is great. And then we figured out, there's still a gap. The NPM packages that are coming from our own web server. Damn, we must need to do something about this. So that's how trusted types came in place. As it's not a third level, it's like it's a complete separated branch actually. Trusted types is just this thing that we say, if it's assigned to in HTML or this dangerous thing, it has to be this trusted type. We're just not allowing anything. And then it doesn't matter if it's coming from your own web server or some external whatever. The browser just says, give me this as a trusted HTML, and then I execute it.
So it sounds like a little bit, so like there's the concept of like a disallow list. Like if you're on this list, I remember listening to a person who did pen testing talking about they were pen testing a site and the developer was trying to prevent them like live. And so they would send in a request and the developer would try to do like a string replace. And then they would just add it again. So they'd have to do another string replace. And, it's like you can only, it's or like spam phone calls on your phone. Like you can block every single phone that calls you that's, trying to sell you something or trying to scam you, but they're just going to change phone numbers. Whereas with the trusted types, it sounds like you're more building an allow list to say, as you have to be on this list or you just don't get through it all. So
yeah, kind of. Yeah. This is to be really honest, this is kind of a comparison I never heard, but it's really suitable actually. It sums it up quite well. That you just need to like whitelist or enable you in a form that you have to convert it to a trusted HTML basically. And the great thing is that Angular has because the second question is of course, but everyone can create trusted types. So even the hacker could just create a trusted type and then inject it. But the cool thing is that you tell upfront who is allowed to create a trusted type on your website.
Mm-hmm.
And you give in this. It's a keyword. It's called just Angular. It's just called Angular. And inside your CSP, you enable trusted types, and you type in Angular. And the browser knows exactly. Now only Angular is allowed to create trusted types. This is basically what it does. And so Angular, an Angular sanitizer of Angular is converting everything to trusted types. So if you're going outside the Angular API, it will be rejected. It will not work at all. And even a hacker can't inject code that creates their own trusted type because the hacker is not Angular.
Right.
And this is, I mean, there's of course still, it can be still the case that you at one point doesn't want to use Angular for whatever reasons. There's sometimes edge cases and use cases. Then of course you would need to create your trusted type on your own, but then you can add your own creation onto those lists of people, let's say people, or let's say mechanisms who are allowed to create trusted types. It's everything is based on whitelist. This is actually really a great comparison, and that's why I love trusted types. I have one last sentence. One last sentence to it. But for me, trusted types are really one of the last nails in the coffin to bring it close to, yes, cross-site scripting can be resolved. But
you have to do it.
Coming to the but, it's a kind of new feature, and yes, Chromium-based web browsers like Edge, Brave, and Chrome, Google Chrome apparently, is supporting it for quite a while. Firefox just opened a PR. So Mozilla Firefox hasn't enabled trusted types till now. So you can't use trusted types till now. And of course, if a person is using an older version of a browser, the person also doesn't get the benefit of trusted types. Hence, those persons are still vulnerable for XSS. So this is one drawback, of course. Like if all the persons would every single time use the latest version of all browsers, it would make my life so much easier as well. So Angular can do the best. Angular can provide so many features. We security consultants or whatnot can provide so many consultancy to the developers implementing those security features. But if the layer 8 sitting in front of the PC is not updating their process, then there's nothing we can do. Of course,
I would say I think that I saw a statistic that like 60% of like hacking attacks have a human element, which is either like they've actually just given you access, they've clicked a link, they're like using into like a old outdated versions of stuff that don't have security patches, and
as well. And now really the last sentence to it. And unfortunately, of course, it can still be the case because that the browser is blocking dangerous things. For the browser to being able to do this, the browser needs to know its own dangerous things really properly. But there is no such thing as, I can Google it, or I can ask Claude please list me all the dangerous things in this browsers. The browsers are a huge legacy app. And there are developers, they maybe have implemented something in C++ or whatnot inside the browser kernel. And maybe later developers joining maybe the Chromium implementer team are not aware of every little itsy bitsy detail. Maybe some persons are, but and like always in this huge legacy app, you might forget something. But one thing that can be really sure that the hackers will find this one little dangerous API that you forgot to protect. Yeah. You forgot to say this also has to be a trusted type for this. So coming to the conclusion and to maybe end this XSS topic up, it's completely illusional to think of XSS as we can finally resolve it. XSS will always be there. So the best way is to protect everything that is sensitive from from JavaScript access, like don't put anything sensitive in the local or session storage. Like when you're adding cookies, there is a cookie attribute. This is called HTTP only. When the server is setting a cookie, the server can add this cookie attribute to it. It's called HTTP only. That means the cookie can't be accessed throughout JavaScript. Do things like that. You have to nothing sensitive inside the local and session storage.
Yep. Yeah, like honestly, once it makes it to the browser, it's
yes. Exactly.
You're just one person trying hard enough away from that getting out. So
yeah, speaking about cookies, there is a great pattern Angular implements. It's called, actually Angular calls it cookie to header pattern, but it's actually a mixture of the double submit cookie pattern and custom request header pattern. But what is the attack actually Angular tries to mitigate with this pattern? It's called cross-site request forgery. So imagine you're logging into your bank account and the bank.com sets a cookie. Okay, so far so good. Sets a cookie. So you see in your browser, if you open your browser, you see and you click on the developer console and there's the application tab, there's the cookie tab. Then you see, okay, there's a cookie, bank.com. And whenever I send a request to bank.com, the cookie will be sent with. Because this is how cookie works. The cool thing is we don't need some interceptor logic like we need to have for bearer tokens, that adding this bearer token manually to the authorization header. All those cookie sending is a completely browser managed thing. This is cool. We love that back in the good, we love that so much back in the good old PHP days. But it brought many drawbacks. Like imagine you are logged into bank.com and now I send you another web link. This web link is kittycat.org. You click on this link and behind the scenes, when you open it, you see, of course, you will first see my two beautiful cats, but behind the scenes, I send a request to bank.com. And what does your browser do? Your browser does, yes, a request to bank.com. I have a cookie for that. Let's use the cookie. Go for it. And then even though you're a complete different website, kittycat.org, behind the scenes, you're sending a cookie. The browser is sending a cookie with, because there's a request going to bank.com. This is horrible, because what this means is that the server, of course, just sees the cookie in this request. So for the server, it's like, okay, yeah, the person sending me this request is logged in, because it obviously have sent me an authorization cookie. And whatever this request contains, maybe like transfer 1 billion euro to Martina's bank account, something like this. Yes, the bank will execute it because you send a cookie along. And this is like incredible dangerous. Yes, there are a couple of things that can mitigate this kind of attack quite easily already. There's actually a cookie attribute. It's called same site. This same site attribute restricts and, let's say, tells the browser, you're not sending a cookie to bank.com when you're not actually in the top level bar, address bar, when you're not on bank.com. So, dear browser, you're just allowed to actually send the cookie along with if the person is actually also on bank.com. If I'm on kittycat.org and there's a request going to bank.com, this is obviously a cross-origin and cross-site request. So don't send this cookie along. Please, please, please don't. So this kind of like attack is easily mitigated with the same site attribute. Unfortunately, like always, there are things that there are reasons why you can't set this attribute, or there are unfortunately sometimes also attacks where this attribute even don't help. So what we call in the security, you need always a second line of defense, like defense in depth, like have multiple defense mechanisms in order to conquer this attack. Like for XSS, it would be sanitization and then the CSP header. First line of defense is always sanitization, and the second line is the CSP header. So for cross-site request forgery, it would be, the first line would be setting the same site attribute, but the second line of defense, and now we are coming to it, would be this double submit cookie pattern, or like this, in Angular implements it in a way of cookie to header pattern. So what it actually does, and why we need some backend help on this, is that the starting point is that the backend, of course, I make a request to the backend, and I'm authorizing myself username and password, or hopefully maybe even a passkey. And then the backend is, of course, generating the session cookie. But beside the session cookie, it also generates a so-called token and a CSRF token. And this CSRF token has some cryptographic specifics, like it is only allowed to be used once sent back to the server. We're coming to that later. And it needs to have a high entropy. Like it should not be 1, 2, 3. It should not be kitty cat. It should be really like has a specific kind of length, a variety. It should not be easy guessable. And this CSRF is like a common phrase for CSRF. It's a little. I guess in the US it's quite common to maybe tell it CSRF. And I got really used to
We love to just pronounce random letters. It's kind of our thing.
I love to pronounce it CSRF, and I got used to it so much. But when I'm doing security workshops here in Germany and I talk about, there's a CSRF token, everyone is like, what do you, what?
Like, just think about it. Think about how surf is spelled, but leave the U out.
Yes, exactly. It's like, that's why I love CSRF. It sounds so cool also. Nevertheless, okay, so there's a CSRF token, and this backend is setting the CSRF token also in a cookie. So in the Angular app, there are actually 2 cookies set now. The cookie that contains the CSRF token and the usual session cookie. So what happens now if Angular is sending a request to the backend? Of course, apparently the session cookie is sent with, and the CSRF token cookie, I call it now like that, is also sent with. But what Angular is doing automatically, meanwhile, you don't even have to configure it. If you provide the HTTP client through the provider function, you get immediately this functionality that Angular extracts the CSRF token out of the cookie. For that, just as a little side note, this cookie is not allowed to have the HTTP only attribute because it needs to be accessible through our JavaScript, but that's fine because we need to implement this cookie to header pattern. So it extracts it and it adds it on each and every request. So the backend gets now 2 cookies plus a request header, and the backend can now, and that's why we need to have a backend involved here. The backend is not only validating the authorization cookie, but it also validating is the CSRF token inside the cookie, it has the same value than the CSRF token in the request header. And having just a custom request header actually makes the attack, like this cross-site request forgery attack, already incredibly difficult for an attacker to do. By just sending a request to bank.com, there's nothing really fancy to do, you can just use plain HTTP request. But as soon as you involve like a custom request header, you must involve some JavaScript magic behind it. So you must construct this request. And the best thing is, in order to try to form the same request like Angular would do, like the original initial application is doing, you would need to get the value also out of the cookie, right? So in order to set the CSRF token inside the request header, you also would need to do the same like Angular does, getting the value out of the cookie. But the great thing is that no other application other than Angular can do this. It's impossible for other applications, for other origins to extract the value out of a cookie, because there's something inside the browser which is called same origin policy. The same origin policy means that every origin has its own browser storage, and only the same origin is allowed to have access to this browser storage. So any other origin can't access the cookie, the content of a cookie, and retrieve it out with JavaScript other than the Angular application, the initial Angular application.
Okay.
For no attacker at all, it is possible to reproduce this request, to actually get the CSRF token out of the cookie, because on other websites, it's not accessible per definition. The browsers are not implementing the same origin policy, so you can't. And for that, we can be sure that only the original application is definitely setting this header, is setting this CSRF token header. And of course, by also having this inside the cookie, we have the sync mechanism, like that not any CSRF token is sent along with the request header, but really the one that the backend also set as a cookie. So we have like a sync mechanism, basically.
Nice.
This is a mechanism that Angular gives you for free completely.
And so you said with that one, if you use the HTTP client, it just happens. Is there anything you need to set up in the HTTP client?
It depends on the Angular version.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I always mix it up. I guess till version 17 or till version 18, one of those, you needed to give in a configuration which is called with XSRF configuration. You needed to provide this with, like you have this with legacy dependency injection, like you have a couple of those functions you can give in the provided, or with fetch, for instance, if you want to use the fetch API for the HTTP request, you can write this inside the provided HTTP client, and also this with XSRF configuration. But since version, I guess 17, 18, you don't even need to do this anymore. Angular searches a cookie, a XSRF cookie, and if the server provided one, Angular just does it.
Nice. Yeah, it looks like you can, if you need to overwrite it, like if your header name is different or something, you can do that. But otherwise,
Of course, if your backend developer are again trying to mess with the front end, like always, like telling you, oh, the cookie name should be that, and the request header name should
we gave it a weird name for reasons.
Yes, exactly.
Like, thank you.
That. Then of course you would need to tell Angular we're implementing this pattern, but please name the request header like this and find the cookie under this specific name. Then you would need to give in the with XRF configuration and provide those two names for the cookie and for the request header. But if maybe the backend developers are so kind to just following the defaults,
right,
then it would be really nice. And then we would not give in the whole with XRF configuration.
Nice.
But and from the backend side, this comparison and checking that the CSRF token is the same, like in the cookie and in the request header. I know that, for instance, in .NET Core, there's a middleware, and also Java Spring Security. There's just Java Spring Security is a 3-liner. In .NET Core, it's just a one middleware 1-liner, and there, bam, it's there, and it's really easy actually, and you should just using it, and you're really safe regarding the cross-site request forgery. Yeah,
so in the Midwest, we call that wearing belt and suspenders. So you want to make sure your pants don't fall down. So a belt should work, but if you also wear suspenders.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, it's such a low-hanging fruit. I mean, come on, just enable it. It's nothing. Angular gives it for free. Your backend gives it to you for free. So hell, just file, just do it. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, really. And there are so many. It's always like security is always like treated so complicated and complex and whatnot. And when it comes to authentication, authorization, and the whole OAuth flows, I agree a little bit. It's fine. Okay. I give you that one. But when it comes to like some low-hanging fruit security mechanism, I don't know, like when I explain people, like what I explained to you right now with the CSRF token and whatnot, they're looking at me like, what? This is so
This
complicated.
sounds complicated. You're like, don't
Yes.
worry, Angular does it for you.
Exactly. You don't have to implement anything. And even if you don't get it completely, just write this one line of code and then it's fine. Then you're fine. It's all good, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, you should still understand it. And I love it actually to always show them the attack and then explaining the mitigation strategy. I dislike a lot when you're just telling, you have to set this and this and this cookie attribute without actually telling
Yes.
what it mitigates. I always really strongly believe that people are learning from pain. Like they need to implement some things maybe first on their own, or really that it occurs to them, and then they finally get why they need this.
Absolutely. So we're getting to the top of the hour here, and I wanted to ask you, so like for the everyday Angular developer, if you've got somebody like, say you've got a developer that's working in a small shop, they want to make sure that they're doing whatever they can to do security. What are your biggest recommendations for that developer?
Yes, and I mean, you already posted the OWASP top 10. I mean, the best thing is to just make great awareness what is out there. I mean, we mentioned cross-site scripting, we mentioned cross-site regress forgery. Just get to know what attacks are actually out there. And then what also really helps is shortly thinking about, is this attack really something that could occur to me? You don't need to have, let's say, the incredible, perfect trusted type implementation when, let's be honest, there's nothing to steal from your website.
Right.
So in
kittycat.com is cool, but
absolutely. I mean, so you always have to do it in a relation, like that's what we call doing a threat modeling, like in a sense of just getting to know what attacks out there, and for that the OWASP top 10 really can help. And they were just newly released last year, actually, like new OWASP top 10 from 2025. There you see the most common attacks, and then just think about, can these attacks occur to my website? And if this attack occur, what is the worst resource that can be affected on this attack? And again, if the answer is kind of, well, actually nothing, then it's fine to focus on another attack, like an attack that maybe creates more harm, basically on your website. And yes, if you have nothing sensitive inside your JavaScript storage and whatnot, you might not have the whole JavaScript cross-site scripting prevention implemented through. So these are just some things that are really important. And sometimes people are missing because they're following just standards and implementing everything and not thinking if this is actually makes sense.
Because it's like, okay, if your website is read-only, you're probably fine. If you allow people to send emails through your website, you want to make sure that they can't just use that portal to spam everybody with emails.
Or even if your website is like company intern, like something that isn't even public, then it's already a little bit easier for you to protect this website and have to completely follow along. Another thing I love is also from OWASP. It's called the OWASP Choose Shop. The OWASP Choose Shop, of course, we can provide you the link as well, is basically an Angular application full of vulnerabilities on purpose, of course. But like you can hack this website. It's basically, you can just clone the source code. It's available throughout a Docker container, or basically you just run npm install and npm start, and then you have it up and running on your machine, and you can completely destroy this website. And try to get some, there's also gamification, like you have a scoreboard and you get some hints and help to also, if you're curious, learn through hacking, actually. Learn how to think, how hackers maybe think. And it's especially cool because this is an Angular app. So you, as an Angular developer, you find yourself really fast, really comfortable in the source code, and to get to know why this attack actually happened right now and what the developer on purpose did wrong. So just to try things out, it's really, really cool. Another good starting point is, of course, using some static scanners like SonarQube. There are a couple of others, but having something like SonarQube, which shortly runs and scans if there is a secret in your code which you should not push to GitHub. If there is maybe something like an inner HTML assignment, which could, of course, always a human should still evaluate those things and then finally decide. But just to have just to reduce the really cheap mistakes.
Yeah.
So static scanner, SonarQube is really nice on that. From time to time, it delivers false positives. Like when you use, for instance, mass random, SonarQube says, but this has to be a cryptographically really good pseudo-random generated number. You can't just use mass random. And then I'm like,
just in a unit test.
yes, exactly. I really just want to have a random number. Please don't put me into jail. I really just
right.
But of course, you get through this. So this are really good starting points. And really, I can highly recommend it. Choose Shop. It makes so much fun to hack it, and it's not like that. You really need to dig deep into Kali Linux or these hacker tools. Just by looking at this website, you figure out already so many vulnerabilities, and maybe shortly scanning a little bit of source code, and then you're already maybe if I type, let's see, being curious. Let's see if I type in and this kind of character now inside a username, and what happens then. And just a little bit curious, just trying to figure things out.
Yeah,
which is really
absolutely. And I will give everyone the same advice I got from my boss early on, is if you are at a conference and you have an opportunity to take to attend a security session, it's usually worth it. I can't speak to the quality of every single conference talk out there, but it's even if it's just people reminding you, oh yeah, cross-site scripting exists, this, CSRFs exists, like all these things exist. And because it is easy to kind of forget with everything else we have to know, what is out there, what we need to be aware of. And I have found in my career, having even a rudimentary understanding of security issues puts you ahead of a lot of other people.
Yes, absolutely.
So
please stay curious and give it a chance to take a look into some of those attacks.
Absolutely. Martina, how can our listeners reach out to you if they would like to follow up with a question to you?
Yes, so my most active social media is actually LinkedIn.
Okay.
So you can just reach. I'm also on Blue Sky. Martina Kraus 11 is like my handle. Actually, it's my handle everywhere. But the most actives I'm really looking into daily are Blue Sky and LinkedIn.
Okay.
You can find me there. And yeah, I'm really happy. If you have any kind of question, just reach out to me. I'm usually really love to answer questions without sending immediately an invoice.
Right.
So you can. I really want to make the world a little bit more secure. So
absolutely.
Just me anytime and ask if you have follow-up questions. Really
nice. Do you have any engagements coming up, speaking engagements that you wanted to talk about or anything like that?
A book. There's a second book that came out.
Oh.
Right?
So what a second book? What were you?
Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, delete that. I was thinking you had a second book.
Yes, at least to my German listeners, there's in April, on the 9th of April, there's a book coming out in German. Nice. About authentication and authorization in web applications. It's basically all things OAuth and OpenID Connect, trying to solve this whole riddle of OAuth flows and what to do. And when I can't, I mentioned don't store the access token local storage or session storage, then the natural question is like,
so where do I put it?
Yeah, but what should I do? So this book might answer those questions a bit. And yes, I'm on a second and third book actually. But they're not written yet. To be really fair, they're not written yet. But yeah, I'm actually writing an Angular book. like nothing
Nice.
nothing related especially to security. It's just an Angular book,
Mm-hmm.
basically introductory, and a book about passkeys. This is again a little bit more security, but how to finally get rid of passwords and using passkeys everywhere. Coming to speaking engagements, actually, I stick a little bit more onto German conferences.
Mm-hmm.
But one great thing regarding, you mentioned OWASP a couple of times, there is the OWASP AppSec EU in Europe, like the
Mm-hmm.
global EU day. It's in Vienna, and I'm there. You can meet me there. Or there is also the OWASP German Day happening in Karlsruhe, actually, here in Germany, my hometown.
Nice.
And they're also speaking, even organizing this conference. And of course, we definitely can already announce, and it was already announced, that we will have NGDE again.
Nice.
The German Angular conference. Jan, you remember, of course, this conference. You met your
He had like maybe like a minor life thing happened there
exactly.
for him.
Maybe he met his dream girl over there, but yeah, a lot of good things happened on NGD already.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, so it will also be there. We haven't announced anything other the date yet, but I'm really hoping maybe to see some of you also there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're interested in, you have NGDE, you can sign up to get announcements. So I already got the save the date announcement on the date, and I was like, ooh, went on the website and checked around because it is absolutely a fantastic conference. The lineup is always just peak, like very good, very pertinent. You do an excellent job selecting talks. The community engagement is great. So if you can make it there, if you're in Europe, get to Berlin. And if you're not, just, get your passport and get on an airplane and go there. Simply go there.
It's really nice. And
Yes.
Berlin is always a great city to visit.
It is. It's a beautiful place. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Jan's like, I feel the same way about Kansas City, Jan. So
say that again with my face. Kansas City is so much better than Berlin. Everything around Kansas City is like not as good, but
okay, so like in Kansas City though, the people want to talk to you at the grocery store. So
yeah, that's the same in Berlin as well. And in Berlin it's even worse because they're like, whatever. Berlin is like San Francisco, but like worse.
Okay. All right. Well, before we dive into another conversation about people talking to you in public, I wanted to take the time, Martina, to thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to Jan and Brooke for taking the time today. Definitely an amazing, important topic. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it from you in the future. And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. If you have not taken the time to subscribe to the podcast, please do that. That helps us keep editing out the swear words. So
thank you so much for having me. I had a great time here.
Absolutely. Same here.